Let's put the two 108 megapixel monsters side by side and see just how big the difference is between these two flagship phones from Xiaomi and Samsung. The theme of this video is going to be small differences because honestly the differences are really tiny. And for me, the biggest differences come in the way that the colors are reproduced and the way that the phones handle HDR. And of course the Ultra does give you that longer zoom range, but is that really necessary? Xiaomi have improved so much in the Mi 10 Pro this year. One of the areas where I think they still could improve a little bit is in the selfie camera, both in photo and video. For video, stabilization and natural skin tones still need a bit of work. You can compare it to the S20 Ultra and decide which one you think is better. I do notice that the Mi 10 took a much punchier image with slightly richer colors, which looks pretty good. It does sharpen features on the face a little bit, whereas the Samsung seems to try and soften those out. You also get a 4K video option on the Samsung, whereas the Mi 10 is in 1080p. Zoom is really good on both of the phones though, with the Mi 10 apparently giving a 10x hybrid zoom, which is very good. Let's compare it to the S20 Ultra, which of course has a 100x space zoom, but really it's the 5, 10, 15 and 20x that most people will be using. Because the S20 Ultra has that periscope zoom lens at a true 5x optical zoom, it should perform a little bit better overall than the Xiaomi. But have a look as we really push both of the cameras to the full extent of their zooms. I think the Mi 10 holds up really well against the much more expensive S20 Ultra. Although I think colors do start to fall apart a little bit quicker than the S20 Ultra. And then also on the Ultra, whereas the Mi 10 stops at 50x, the Ultra goes to 100x, and you get a shot like this. But you can also just crop in on the 50x picture from the Xiaomi, and putting them together like this, there isn't too much difference. I noticed that the Ultra tends to expose the clouds and the sky a little bit punchier than the Mi 10. This could be down to a software issue, but if we compare 5x on the phones, actually the difference and the fuzziness you get from those zoom lenses isn't really noticeable a big difference for me. And how about 10x on this text? Both phones do a fantastic job. It is super clear. So then for me, 10x zoom on both of the phones is very usable and very good. And in pictures anywhere up to 5x, you can see the S20 Ultra tends to shoot slightly more contrasty images than the Mi 10. Look at the tree in this image to see what I'm talking about. The S20 Ultra crushes those blacks, whereas the Mi 10 tries to brighten them up. It's also noticeable in pictures like this where you can see those really crushed blacks on the S20 Ultra. But man, these two phones shoot such similar images. And that's not surprising considering that Samsung makes both of these 108 megapixel sensors. And really it just comes down to a little bit of HDR in the sky and the background, and also the color science that they both use. Looking at the videos and images side by side, Xiaomi tries to brighten up every area of the image, and sometimes that leads to just an overexposed picture. This is easily fixed in post-production though, if you can do that. But have a look in 108 megapixel mode here and see how HDR is affected. If we crop in 400%, on the 108 megapixel shots, unsurprisingly because the resolution is the same, they both keep so much detail. Differences in exposure and color science between the two phones can actually be really easily fixed with an editor after you take the video or the photo. So actually this isn't a huge deal in terms of the difference in the phones, and it is the biggest difference between them in my opinion. I do also think the S20 Ultra just keeps a little more detail in those long zoom situations, especially if we go into 30x zoom. The S20 Ultra is technically better, but they're both not that great at this long zoom length. I guess it's more impressive that Xiaomi were able to produce these results whilst keeping the price so much lower than its competitors. The Xiaomi phone also automatically shoots in night mode when you are in dark situations, whereas on the S20 Ultra, you have to physically select it from the settings. And there is a big difference between night mode and non-night mode on the S20 Ultra, but nighttime video on most phones is a real struggle. There just isn't enough light information on these small sensors to really make it look good. This is something that all phones in general have to work on, but it is so difficult to get enough information at night from these tiny smartphone cameras. So you can see the S20 Ultra in non-night mode keeps things really dark, but as soon as you switch to night mode, it brightens it up. Whereas the Mi 10 does that automatically no matter what mode you shoot in. Even though the S20 Ultra, in China at least, is literally double the price of the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro, there is definitely not a 100% difference between the quality in video and photo of these phones. So I have to commend the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro for giving such good results at that lower price point. Subscribe for all the latest tech news and videos. That's it for now, but I'll see you in the next one.